Hi guys, how you doing? I'm Haru, Haru, and this is the I think 5th episode of the Stars Bitácora. Welcome. Today I want to talk a little bit about what is racism, cause I think there's this misconception because there's never been clearly communicated like the full extent of all of it, and it's like it's a little patchy. Like you don't have the full context. I think we don't have socially the full context of what is racism. So like, you don't really get it. Like you don't get it. Wait, you don't get it. Okay. So, racism is this superficial division by classes in the human species, right? Like by races. The thing is that there is no different races. The human race is the one, okay? And it's usually misconstrued, like, how's the word? Mistaken, thank you. 111 in the timer. Is usually mistaken for ethnicity, which is very, very different. Because let me tell you something. Ethnicity is not something that you can see with your eyes, right? Ethnicity, it's this thing that's the genetic code of all your ancestors. What all your ancestors went through genetically coded the DNA of the predecessors, right? Which basically made, for example, people that lived in zones where you had barely any sun and there was really really snow and it was hard to get melatonin, whiter, lighter skin, because that way we already know that the colors, okay, the colors, they attract light, okay. For example, darker colors, black, repels a lot of light, right? No, was it the other way? It was the other way around. But that's the thing, right? The colors kind of like attract light or repel light, okay? That's why we have the skin phototypes, because past generations spent a lot of time, for example, in deserts, right? And the body said, okay, these are harsher conditions, so we need to adjust. Okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna do certain thing to our skin, like adjusting our skin phototypes. Skin phototypes, how do I put it into words? There's from skin phototype 1 to I think skin phototype 5, which is basically, the way your skin adjusts to the sun, the way your skin works. So, for example, phototype 1, it's the type of person that, goes to the sun and gets sunburned in like 15 minutes. The person that cannot, under any circumstance, go under the sun. They usually have lighter eyes and lighter hair colors because that's what happens, right? Like, I don't know exactly why. I gotta be honest, I don't know exactly why, but it's the likelihoods of it, okay? Then on the, higher phototypes, like phototype 5, I don't know if that's the last one, I gotta be honest, but I think it is. Phototype 5, it's the type of skin that's super dark and like sun does nothing to you, right? Sun, what is it? I don't know what's that, okay? This is important because I'm trying to help you understand the scientific reasons, biological, genetical, physiognomical reasons as to why racism makes no sense. Because racism, what it does, it's this superficial division, right? I'm judging you. I'm judging you by your skin tone, by how your eyes look. I'm judging you by all of that. And what you don't get is that it's not that it's different races of humans, right? Because also ethnicity, you cannot tell that apart, right? You may see two people that are white, lighter skin tones, lower phototypes, and they have never crossed paths genetically. So for example, this person, genetically has, some Scotch genes and some French genes. And this person has genes in Alaska. And that's it, right? They never cross paths. So if we're speaking, ethnically, they're different ethnicities, okay? But, racially, they're both white because it's superficial. It's what I see with my eyes. I'm judging you and rating you by how I see you, okay? Now, for example, like what I said with the harsher conditions, right? The harsher conditions, it's both sides. So, for example, if you're in a place with a lot of sun, the skin is gonna have to adjust because it's like I am getting sunburned, and like I'm just soaking in the light, and I'm gonna get burnt, but like burnt. Like I'm gonna incinerate. Like I'm not gonna be able to survive this. So the body said, okay, what do we do? What do we do? And then it was like, okay, let's make our skin darker so that we can actually absorb the light that we need without getting harmed, right? I don't know exactly how that works, so don't come to me for scientific explanations of that, but you can search it up, okay? And then bodies elsewhere were like, hey, we get very, very little sun here. Like, we really need to, pump it up. Like, I feel like I'm not getting the melatonin that I need, right? So, for example, snowy weathers or, in the betweens, that was likely to happen. So, lighter skin tones that would, absorb the light, do like, hey, come in. Hey, right here. There you go, right? Darker skin tones repel the light. Lighter skin tones absorb the light. Oof. Confirmation verb. Or for example, another thing, right? The Asian, right? I'm saying Asian because I don't know exactly the places, right? But the Asian ice, what they call, I don't know, what they call the thin ice, almond ice, I don't know how they're called. But those things, and I think this is so amazing. Those things that happen, the genetical features changing is also part of that. It's also part of that, of this genetical coding changing through the conditions. It was the bodies of the first generation being like, hey, this happens this way, so let's adjust this so that we can have an easier life, right? So I saw this basically. It came from tribes before, right? I think it was the Eskimos that they use this like wooden like sunglasses to see through the snow without getting burnt, right? And I accommodated to adjust those harsh conditions. So for example, the like fat over here, that was because the body said, you know what? We need to protect our eyes. We need to protect our eyes because this sun, it's hitting straight up and we cannot see anything. So we need to protect our eyes, and that's why the little thicker part here. Then they got thinner so that they could see through the little lines, because if you've ever seen the Eskimo glasses, they have like a slot, like a little slot here, and they needed to see through that. That's why the eyes accommodated being larger and the wider, right? That's why. Also, this part here, I already said it, but like it's thicker also to protect the eye, right? Because I mean, I guess in the, in the snow, even if you close your eyes, when there's a lot of light, I can see it. Like if there's a lot of light, I may close my eyes, but I see it, right? That's why. Because if you have a thicker layer of an eyelid, you don't see it. So it's not going to harm your eyes, okay? And I think that's so incredible. I think that's so incredible. And it's this thing to me that like I love wrinkles. How are they called when you have like lines of expression? Well, I love lines of expression because I think it's so amazing how you can see, the recollection of stories of a person in her face. That's just mind-blowing to me. Because imagine someone that's being really happy. She smiled a lot of times, so she's got this line here, right? Like, I was super happy, so now as I'm older, you can see in my face how my life was. That's incredible. I don't know. I just love it so much. Like, imagine, I laughed so many times, so I have this line here. But I also cried too many times, so I have like a little thing here, right? Or I got, that person got too angry all the time, so you see that they have these lines here. It's incredible. You can see the quality of a person. You can see their lives. You can see how happy were they, how sad were they, how angry were they. You can see what they tend to do. If they tend to frown a lot, you get these things, right? You can see all of that in someone's faces, in their records. And I think this is like to one person scale, right? But ethnicity, it's like a whole nother thing, right? Because the shape of your nose, it's also shaped for something. The way of your jaw, it's also for something. The way of your eyes, the way of, everything, it has a reason. And the reason is the people before you, their bodies were like, hey, we should update this for the next version. They said, we should update this for the next version so that we can do better, so that we have more, higher chances of surviving and being, the dominant species, which is the idea of every species that, evolves. It's for that. It's to be the dominant species so that they don't get, predators on them, And I think it's incredible. I think it's amazing because every time you look at a person, you see not only, with the lens of expression, you see what they had to go through, the emotions, the feelings, everything they went through in their life. But through their physiognomy, you see what their ancestors went through in their life. If you see someone with the darkest skin tone, the ancestors went through hell and back. But I mean literally like super hot weathers. Like super hot, like a lot of sun, like sleeping under the ray of the bare naked sun. That's incredible. That's seriously incredible. I don't know. I'm just flabbergasted. And I'm guessing also that the hair, the curls or the straight hair has something to do with it. But I just think it's so amazing. Even the shape of the feet. For example, I think it was some Chinese culture that, kind of, liked small feet. So they kind of curled up their feet like they tied it or something. I'm not an expert, so I apologize for being, disrespectful. But it's not my idea. Oof. But they try to do that so that they could grow, they could not grow their feet, so they would stay tiny because it was like a trend. It was like, fashionable, I think, 1221 in the timer. All those things, they carry a genetic code down to us. Who we are right now, it's little bits and pieces of the things that worked in our ancestors, including the skin tone, excluding the eyes and the nose and the lips and the jaw and the length of our limbs, to our hair, to everything. For girls also, our hips. If your hips are larger, that's because, people in your family, depending, obviously, but that's because the tree line said, larger hips works for this and for that, so we're gonna keep that. It's like a purging system, okay? So first generation had a lot of flaws, so they did a second try, which is their kids, that had a bunch of flaws, and that's just how it goes, right? The body starts, modifying these little things to be like, oh my god, but, if we're having a problem with this, why don't we change this? They try that in the next generation, and, that in I don't even think it's like the next generation, 13th. It's not even the next generation. It's like generations down the line, right? Of, okay, these 10 generations gonna have this thing that it's a problem with the skin, for example, right? So we're going to change that. And they change it small. But do you understand how many years and years and years of lineage, how many millennia of lineage do you need to have to get that difference of a skin tone? Because we all came from the same thing, right? But we diverged our paths. And now we have that big of a difference in a skin tone, okay? In the phototypes. Because this tree line went completely south, and this tree line went completely north. So what happened is that they faced different conditions, and through generations and generations, they adapted. They came from the same. It's crazy to me. I'm just like, wow. Because I don't know, I love it so much. Just to think about the fact that the person I am now, it's a recollection of timelines and timelines and millennia of all of my ancestors that went through all of this stuff and their bodies generations down the line said, okay, yeah, this works, yeah, this doesn't, we'll take that off. Like, I'm a project. Like, I'm a human project. 1515, and I love that. I love that because I'm not like, and I don't like to say failed or, gone right project because we're humans at the end of the day, right? But it's like, I am everything that's right. This body, perhaps not millennia down the line because there were different, problems, right? So, but this body is the adaptation, the perfect adaptation that found its way to get to me. I don't know if you get me, but it's like all these trials and errors on different genetic codes made it down to me, right? I just got a message, what? I am literally the, 2.0, but it's like 3 trillion point oh, right? I just think that's amazing. And that's what I wanted to like point out. Because, ethnicity is not something you can see, right? You may look at two people and they may be incredibly similar, right? Same skin tone, same facial features and whatever. But when you look at ethnicity, that's based on the genes, on where this genetic mutation happened and why. The reason of the where is because if you're here, this genetic mutation, it's likely to happen, right? That you can actually make a test on that. By your blood samples, I think. Well, I think it's really weird to send your blood samples to a random person. But, you can actually test that. What's your DNA, your story, For example, Japanese people have this habit of, like, being pure breed, per se. I don't like to say it like that, but I don't know how to call it, okay? Being pure breed, which is basically, Japanese person marries Japanese person, gets a Japanese kid that marries another Japanese kid. That get kids and it's just Japanese, right? So like they some Japanese people I think are really likely to do the test and be 100% genetically Japanese, which is crazy. I don't know, I just love it. And that's why racism, it's so dumb. Because also there's a lot of things that are racist that you don't realize, right? Because racism is the separation of the humankind by classes, superficial and moral separation of the humankind by classes. What do I mean by this, right? So I see that you have a different skin tone than me. So morally, like superficially, I'm putting you on a different pedestal, like on a different box, just by the way I look at you and I see that you're not, similar to me, which is superficial with my eyes. I don't know that actually. But morally, I present myself different to you when, for example, and this is, for example, the N-word. I'm not gonna say it because I don't want any repercussions from saying it, but I'm Uruguayan, so I don't really know. But the N-word, for example, that's racist. And I don't mean racist as it's a racist slur, but it actually creates that separation of like, no, you are different than me, right? No, like, I'm this skin tone, you're that skin tone. You cannot say that, right? That's the box, that's the line, that's the difference, that's the distance you're putting, right? That is racist, okay? And I understand that, it's not comparable to other many things that are racist. But I personally think that, if I wanted to stop racism, I would stop it from the core. Because maybe I'm not a racist person, but if, for example, I had darker skin tones and I would use the N-word, I'm realizing I'm still putting that line between us of like, no, but you're different than me, right? Imagine a group of kids and 4 of them are black and 1 of them is white, right? They're all friends, but they grow up and then the white kid cannot, call their friends the way they call themselves. Right? Because between them, they say the N-word so, so nicely, so kind, like brotherhood, right? But this this guy cannot say it. And it's not that it's good or bad or anything, right? But it puts this distance of like, we're not the same. We're not the same. No, wait. Don't overstep, right? We're not the same. That group is gonna grow apart, okay? And that may actually cause serious racial problems, okay? I'm not gonna get too much into that because I don't actually know that much. Like, I'm not from the USA, so I don't want to, poke my finger in there because I don't know if it's like touching a nerve. But I gotta say that racism does have a lot of variations. Some of them are incredibly harmful, like to the bone, and some of them are harmful in a more like slick way, right? Because the harm is still there, but it's more subconscious. It's more like you don't realize you're making harm. You're not intending to be harmful. You're not intending to this or intending to that, right? But it does happen, right? I think it's crazy that we create this line of division, this, no, I'm different than you yet, but you're not like me, like this, I'm on this box, you're on that box, don't cross the line, over something that we see with our eyes, that is not even true. And I am personally a person that I think culture is meant to be shared. But how are you gonna share your culture if you feel aversion to it? If you're putting this distance? Because I think that every country has something to be learned from, right? For example, I love Japan, and I think that I love their competition culture, because they're not like competition as in hatred, but competition as in, oh, you're really good, I'm gonna get to your level, right? It's like I pump myself up out of seeing you succeed, which is beautiful. It's beautiful. This thing about, how educated they are, how hardworking they are also. Because, for example, if something happens that is like, I don't know, per se, a truck goes by and it suddenly derails and you have like all this thing all over, right? Like whatever was in the truck, it's all over now. Everyone that sees that, gather up and they clean it up, which is so much easier, so much faster than if it would have happened any other way, right? And I love that. And I think that from every culture, there's something to be learned. There's something to be learned from every culture. There's something that every culture needs to learn, and something to be learned from that culture at the same time. And putting this distance, this line, which is just imaginary as the line of the countries, right? There's no actual line. There's no actual line. There's no actual difference. How could you know how different or how similar you are to a person just to the eyes? The way someone looks, it's not even an accountable percentage to how, who that person is. The way you look, it's not even the 1%. It's not even the 0.0000001% of who you are. It's nothing. It's literally nothing. And I don't know, I feel it's so harmful to make that division when we're both divine beings. But I don't only mean that as like, sons and daughters of the divine, children of the divine, but also like, do you understand how much human progress you're completely disestimating by just, saying, oh, you're black, oh, you're white, oh, you're this, oh, you're that, making that division of like, oh, we're not the same. No, you're not the same. No one is the same from anyone. I don't know. I find it so crazy because it's like when you see it from the eyes of how miraculous it is the way we are. Because if you see it like a project, we are like the final steps of the project, right? Like through what, human existence is. We are refined beings, and I mean generation through generations through generations. We have been refined. We have been mutating into the best version of ourselves. That's us. The best version of millennia of human beings. and we just estimate it like it's just the color. It's not just the color. The color, it's the color is not even the thrilling part of it. I don't know. I think it's crazy, and I think sometimes, most times, racism is approached, um, without having the full extent of idea of what it is. Because for me, this is obvious, right? Like perhaps it's the way I was, culturally raised here in Uruguay. Uruguay is a country of diversity, like in every single aspect. Like here, we're just like colors and shapes and of every type. There's nothing you won't see here, right? And like I love that. I love that because it's so freeing. Doesn't matter who you are, where you live, where you are from. Here, you're always welcome. You're always welcome, and we're like culturally super diverse also. Because we are a country of immigrants and stuff, right? And I think from that side, my part of the culture that I like to share is there's no difference. There is no difference. Like you cannot see the difference in a person just by the eyes. You may look incredibly different and be just the same. Copy paste. You and I. You're right. Like I don't know. I wanted to say that because I don't know. I thought it was important to share. So yeah, I really hope you like this, and I really hope you get something positive and amazing out of it, and that you love it really really much, and that you can have a new beautiful perspective to life, which is always my intention to give you a new splendid perspective. Okay, so yeah, love you. Bye.